Hopefully this one works because YouTube and technology hates me. I thought I left all this behind when we were doing Facebook Live because it always likes to screw with me. So, hey guys, I'm Catherine. This is Little Bits of Heaven Homestead. And now that I've started talking, my kids in the background have figured out that I'm here and they think it's time for me to feed them because it is. So you can see them growing like crazy. So these are my bottle babies right here that are super clingy. But today's topic, I wanted to talk to you about water insecurity and being prepared. So originally I would identify more as a prepper than I would have a homesteader years ago. And I didn't realize that our journey of being prepared was going to evolve into a full homestead. So hello, Kicking It with Karen. I love those bottle babies too. They are something else. They are entertaining for sure. Never had bottle babies before, but they have identified me as mom. So what led me into our journey of hello brown coat homestead, welcome. So what led me into our journey of homesteading was actually being a prepper. And I never identified as a hardcore like survivalist, we're gonna survive the zombie apocalypse type prepper. It was more as a general concern as a mom. So a little bit of history about me. If you guys have followed the Facebook feeds on Dirt Patch Heaven, you'll already have heard the story, so sorry if I'm repeating. But after 9/11, I had an itty bitty baby, and I found that a lot of my journey has come just after having babies. So Kicking It with Karen, it says, what is a prepper? And I'll get to that here in just a second. So after I had my second daughter, she was 8 days old, and September 11th happened. And to say I was terrified is putting it mildly. I recognized how fragile our system was. Businesses across the country shut down. I mean, everything was just a standstill for several weeks. I was overly emotional because I was hormonal. I sat my rear end on the couch in front of the TV for weeks and just sobbed. It was so scary realizing that not only were there threats out there, but we were extremely vulnerable. And not that I'm worried about a terrorist attack in my community per se. At the time I was living in Tucson, Arizona, and several of the terrorists that were on the flights at the time had actually been based out of Tucson. So it was very real and in my backyard. So it was something that you couldn't just ignore. And I had heard the term survivalist before. I thought it was kind of kooky. It's the people that wear the tinfoil hats. And so a general definition by society standards on what is a prepper is you're going to go with that crazy, they're going to run off into the woods and be a survivalist and survive with nothing but a knife and a cup or something. And as a mom, that's not realistic to me, and that was never my goal. So I did realize that we had a fragile system. And so fast forward another 10 years or so, I had my third baby. And she was 2.5 months premature. She was just this little itty bitty peanut. She was no bigger than my hand when she was born. And she came home after 2 months in the hospital. And the weekend we brought her home, we had the coldest snap we have ever experienced here in where I currently live. We had wind chills of 25 below, and my pipes, we are on a well. This is actually one of my water storage, or it's my primary water storage tank. But the pipe work between this tank and my house froze solid. And it was frozen for close to a week. And we had no water storage. We had no backup systems. We have a business in town. We drove into town. Our pipes were frozen there. My parents' house, their pipes were frozen. We have a rental house in town, and those pipes were frozen. The community center in my local town opened up, and they were providing water because we weren't alone. A vast majority of our town actually had no running water. And if you've ever been without water, it's amazing how dependent you are for everything. You can't cook, you can't clean, you can't, basic hygiene is essentially shut down. As far as drinking water goes, I mean, you're done. So basic rule of survival is, and they have rules of 3. So they say that you can survive approximately 30 minutes without any sort of shelter. So if you're out in the elements and it's freezing cold, your first priority is shelter. They say you can survive up to 3 days without water and 30 days without food. So as you're prioritizing what it is that you need to do in order to ensure some sort of comfortable survival, that is the hierarchy I would look at: shelter, water, food. So in this video, I'm going to assume that your shelter is taken care of, that you're at home, and for whatever reason, you have lost the ability to have running water. So, and it could be something as simple as a storm moves in and there's a cold snap and you're dependent on your own well. If you're in a municipality and you have city water, you've got a little more flexibility. For the most part, most cities have some sort of backup generator. That doesn't ensure that you're going to continue to have running water if it's an extended period. So Suburban Hillbilly says 3 minutes without air. Yes. So I guess that would be your first priority, is 3 minutes without air. So, but in this scenario, so I'm going to assume that you have shelter of some sort. And so here, we experienced an event where we had no running water. And we had this little tiny infant, and she was totally dependent on us to provide for her needs, as were our 2 older kids. And it was scary. We had dishes piling up. We didn't have paper plates because we tend to be ecologically friendly as possible. We are concerned about our carbon footprint. We do reduce, reuse, recycle. Thank you, Suburban Hillbilly. I tried to go live earlier and it was crooked because technology hates me. I'll delete that here in a little bit. So, so without any running water, we went to what we had on hand. And we had a couple cases of water bottles, which was good that we had those. So if you are, say, carrying these in a car, I have a get-home bag. Preppers would normally call it a bug-out bag, but I have no desire to bug out. If it's bad enough that we have to leave our home, that is bad. So Kicking It with Karen, Beyond Sauerkraut, says it gets expensive. This is probably the most expensive way to buy water. No doubt this adds up. So rule of thumb, and regardless of what people tell you as far as being a crazy prepper, it is always a smart idea to have something on hand to meet your needs, to make sure life is comfortable. If you have a savings account, you are looking in the future, noticing that you may have a need, and putting something away. If you have a retirement fund, you're aware that at some point you are not going to have a source of income. You're still going to want to live comfortably, so you put away now for later. That, in my mind, is the exact same philosophy as far as prepping. But prepping is kind of a little different in that you put things aside and you hope to never use them. So, and if you never use them, that's probably a good thing. But also a good rule of prepping is to store what you use. So don't go out and buy a bunch of stuff that you would never ever use. Buy what you're already using. You know you're going to use water, rotate it out. So this is probably the worst way to store water. So, and these are easy to break. If you put them in some sort of backpack, they get squished, they leak. Not great. So Kicking It with Karen says that doesn't sound so crazy. It doesn't sound crazy to me either. It sounds like a rational, logical, smart way to go about life. Is you want to ensure that you're going to be not only healthy and happy, but that your kids are going to be cared for. So, and water is paramount to that. So I swapped these out. These also will leak nasty stuff into your water that's potentially pathogenic. So I know that these have BPA in them, or at least they did at some point. And if you're keeping them specifically in a hot car, they will leach into your water. So I stopped carrying these and went with these guys. So I like them. They're a real hard plastic. They're BPA free. I leave some headroom in here, so if if the water inside freezes, it's not going to crack my canteen. So this is my option for what I keep in the car in our get home bag. What I started doing at home, and there's some real advantages to this, is I went with 3-liter soda bottles. And these guys don't use milk bottles because you can't properly clean them. They will always have some fats and proteins that adhere to the inside of the plastic. They get really brittle really fast. So if you're depending on your milk jugs, you may show up a year or two later and have empty jugs and your water will have leaked out. That doesn't help you. And if the water's still in there, it could be highly contaminated. So I try to stay away from milk jugs. And I guess if that's your only option, something's better than nothing, but really think about your long-term options here. So these guys are great. So you can use them not only for water storage, but if for some reason they have some biological contaminants, like say you source your water from a stream, you can use these to do solar distillation. And so you would just set it out in the sun, and I don't know the time period that they recommend, but you would want to rotate it on occasion. And what that's going to do is kill anything biological. So things like bacteria, worms, it's going to take care of it. If it's contaminated with, say, like heavy metals, you're going to need some other option in order to filter it. So, but this is good because you can stash these under kids' beds, closets, and your bathroom. This is perfect for flushing toilets. So you would keep a couple of these. Our standard toilets, unless you're using a low flow toilet, they use somewhere between 3 and 7 gallons of water. So yeah, cool, solar distillation, awesome. So that's Kicking It with Karen says, cool, solar distillation. So this is a multi-purpose thing. So not only is it storage, you can use it to clean your water. There are options as far as filters. The Berkey is kind of the gold standard as far as filter goes. You can do something quick and easy like a handkerchief and put sand in it. It's not going to be ideal, but something's better than nothing. So from here, we moved up into these guys. And I love these guys. You can find them in the camping section of any big box store. I think we paid about $14 for this, and it holds about 7 gallons. They are BPA free, and so you don't have to worry about it leaching nasty chemicals into your water. I do leave headroom in this, just like I would other water storage containers. We keep these down in our barn, and so that way, because we do experience freezing temperatures, it has some room to expand without busting the actual container. I love these. I'm a small woman. Water weighs just over 8 pounds per gallon. So you're talking 50 pounds plus in one of these. And while I can carry it, it's not necessarily comfortable. So keep that in mind as you're storing water, that weight is an issue. I do like these because they have the easy spigot. So Kicking It with Karen says, do you ever change out your water? I do, as I tend to write the dates on my bottles, and I like to swap them out somewhere between 1 to 2 times a year. And water can get flat, it's the oxygen in it, and it makes it kind of taste a little funky. So if for some reason you don't swap out your water, it's really not a big deal. You can re-oxygenate your water by just sloshing it between 2 different containers, and that'll refresh your water so it doesn't taste as funky. And I also recommend keeping something on hand. Things like Crystal Light or Tang or tea, just something that it kind of spices up your water. So because life, if you're dependent completely on your water supply, it means there's been some sort of event and life is going to be stressful. So try and make it enjoyable where possible. And drinking and eating yucky things is not enjoyable. So keep that in mind as you're storing food and water for your family's needs. So from here, we started recognizing that not only for our personal selves, but we've got a ton of animals. And the government's rule of thumb, and our own government does recommend preparing. So on ready.gov, there is a list where, and I know that they used to recommend having 3 days of food and water on hand. I believe that after Katrina, they bumped that up to 3 weeks because they started to realize that to take care of and provide for the needs of a large mass of people in a large event, that it was unrealistic that our government could get to them within 3 days. So I believe that they bumped it up to 3 weeks. So even our own government is recommending some form of preparedness. And so you can check out, they've got all sorts of great lists on ready.gov. Pop on over there and check it out. So we went from this. We have had this water storage tank. It's attached to our well fills it up. And this is not only a source of comfort for me, this is a source of constant stress. This silver pipe, I don't know if you can see it down there on the ground, measures my water level. We've been in this house for 14 years. And I kid you not, I check this thing every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. So hello, Lana, welcome. So what I want to see is this pipe on the ground. That tells me that my water tank is full. When this thing comes up off the ground, it tells me that I am using more water than I'm pumping in, and that's a concern. I'm on a low to almost no water producing well. Hello, Michelle at Serenity Mountain Homestead. Oh, it's good to see you. So this is not only security for me, it is total anxiety. I have water insecurity. When we bought this house, we knew that the well was low producing. We had a test done and it produced a little over half a gallon a minute, which sounds like a lot, but when you're using it, you go through it quickly. And in the summer, June tends to be my driest month. It's also my hottest month. It's also the month that I'm starting my seeds in the garden. And I've done all my transfers and I'm super excited about my new baby plants. And we start running out of water. And it's not unusual for me to get this pipe somewhere up more than halfway empty, and it takes me a good month or two to refill. That is stressful. So we started looking for alternatives, and we haven't gone there yet, but we are hoping to start collecting rainwater. So I tracked down, oh, my goats got out. They found me. So I started tracking down these 55-gallon drums. And you can oftentimes find them used. Do be careful because you want to know what was in them. So I got a handful that are not considered potable, that are going to be specifically for watering like plants, and they won't be to our, Lana says, is that a water gauge? Yes, that pipe measures my water. So Kicking It with Karen says, how do you practice water conservation? So that is a daily thing, and I'll get there in just a second. So hey guys, please don't knock over my camera. So my goats know how to escape. They never do, but they know I'm right here. So, okay. So we went with these 55-gallon drums. We've got a handful of them. And then, hello, North Star Prepsteader, welcome. So, and then I also found a source locally for the big IBC totes. Holy cow, I'm surrounded by baby goats. So, yes. So the IBC totes, I believe they're either 275 gallons or 325 gallons. Either way, it doesn't matter much to me, but I picked up 3 of them. And so our intentions originally were to hook them to the downspouts on our barn and start collecting rainwater. That is definitely what these guys are destined for, but I have a friend that wants to help me set up a hydroponic/aquaponic system, so I think I may repurpose those IBC totes for that. But the point of this is you're not limited on your water supply. There are lots of options out there. If you're living in an apartment and you feel the need to store water, this is a perfect solution for you. If you've got a house with some downspouts, this is a perfect solution for you. I'm pretty sure anybody can store a handful of these. So there is no excuse to put some water away because you never know when you may need it. And if you don't need it, it's not like it goes to waste. You can always water your plants with it. So with our animals, I've never estimated how many gallons of water per day that we go through. Sorry, baby goats. So they're always an adventure. So I'm not even sure that I have enough on hand to last a month with all of our animals, but I know that I could get us through at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. And if there's some sort of catastrophic event that lasts beyond that, that would be pretty tough to prepare a homestead for in general. So after about 3 days of no water, my homestead's gonna start dropping like flies. And there's not, in some huge event, there's not a whole lot I can do about that. We would probably start butchering and processing at that point. So water conservation, let's go to that. So always, there's simple things like never run your dishwasher or your washing machine unless it's completely full. So that's one way to get the most out of your water use there. Look for low flow appliances if possible. So we do have a high efficiency washer. Hand washing dishes tends to use a lot less water in my experience than using even the dishwasher. So I do that if my husband isn't home. So Lana says, did you put bleach in the totes for sanitation? Yes. And I also put bleach in here when I do water storage. I believe, and I'll have to double check this, but I believe it's 8 drops of bleach per gallon. And so I do that just to ensure that I don't have anything funky growing in here. So water conservation as far as Simple things like turn the water off when you're brushing your teeth, turn the water off when you wash your hands. So we watch every drop around here, and even when my tank is full, I'm always concerned about it. So as far as landscaping goes, other than my garden, I tend to plant drought tolerant plants, and I prefer plants that require minimal to no water. So Kicking It with Karen says the bleach isn't bad for you? Question mark. No. In fact, city municipalities treat all water with chlorine. So it is safe to be ingested. You don't want to drink too much of it, but minimal amounts will kill whatever bacteria and junk you've got in here, and it is safe to ingest. So in fact, bleach after time breaks down into salt and water. So keeping it in here isn't going to hurt you. And since I've been on a well for so long, I can definitely smell and taste the bleach in city water when I have to consume it. So I tend to and prefer to not drink chlorinated water, but if you're talking about having it sitting on a shelf for a year, I feel better about making sure that what I put in there, whatever bacteria may have been present in the first place, has been killed and taken care of, so that a year from now I'm not too worried about consuming this. So, okay guys, well, I think that's all I had to show you. I just wanted to show you some different options on water storage, including my big tank here. This is always an option even if you don't have a well. They sell these big water cisterns in different sizes. I think you can get them like 200, 500, 1,000 gallons. We went with the 2,000 because it takes our well so long to fill up that every drop counts. So I've got baby goats I gotta run in and water and feed. Let's see here. Answering questions real quick. So North Star Prep Stutter says, do you have the ability to have sandpoint wells in your area? Honestly, I don't even know what a sandpoint well is. So I wish I could answer that. I can tell you that I could not hand dig a well. This well, my current well, is 525 feet deep. I do live in the high mountain desert. Water is an issue here. And it's not unusual for people in my area to have wells that are 700, 800, 900 feet deep. I have a neighbor down the road that drilled 5 different wells on their property and didn't hit water on a single one. And they ended up having to drill their well up by the highway, which was more than a mile away from their house, and pipe it down. So water is an issue. I'm not sure what a sandpoint well is. It's not something I've ever heard of. So, all right, Lana, thank you. So thanks for joining me, guys. I'm gonna run, go feed some baby goats. Otherwise, they may attack me here on camera. So hope you guys got something of value on this. So, oh, here North Star Prep Stutter says it's dug down about 15 feet to sand that collects water. Nope, not an option here. And in fact, we don't even have sand. So we've got, I wouldn't even call what we've got dirt. It's mostly rock and clay. And I couldn't dig a 15-foot hole if I tried. So, hey, Life in the UP, welcome. So I'm gonna run, guys. So if I can challenge you to do anything, it's put some water away, because you never know when you may need it. It's not crazy to store stuff. So carry on with your lives and have a great one. Thanks for joining me. And if you could please like, share, and subscribe, I would appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. Have a great night, Jennifer. Thanks.